So let's get started. First agenda item is a call to order. The time is 10:37 on Tuesday, January 22nd, 2019, and a quorum is present. There we go. Does it? Yes.
You go to right where the line is, and the two is not on the line.
Oh,
Right at the top on the line. We already in there. Right there. Yep.
it's not showing.
It's gonna show up here.
So which is
Just put it on. You're already on right there. Get that. It's open. Yeah.
Yeah, we're supposed to be on agenda item number 2, but apparently I'm not there.
It'll
So,
scroll down a little.
okay. Wow, that was awful. I made it through one play and I fumbled. Okay.
He's on it.
I should be a referee for the NFL.
Too soon.
That was not- All right. Yeah, I have a lot of friends from New Orleans. They're still not happy. The next agenda item is recognition of major promotions. Chief Kirkendall, I'm glad to hand you the baton here.
I'll try not to bubble it, sir. Good morning, Chairman Lilly and Commissioner Steen. For the record, my name is Victor Kirkendall. I serve as the Chief of Law Enforcement for the Enforcement Division. It is my pleasure today to introduce 3 newly promoted majors in the Enforcement Division. Unfortunately, not all 3 could make it here today, as Major Carla Thompson became ill last night and is unable to attend. The position of major is the highest serving rank for enforcement agents assigned to work in the field. TABC has only 6 such positions, a major over each of the 5 regions and 1 over our Special Investigations Unit. The majors serve as the primary representative for the TABC to our law enforcement partners and several other elected officials in the field. While legislators and TABC executive staff can provide direction and the goals to be met, it is the majors and their reports who know the unique challenges in implementing and achieving those goals for their area. Enforcement Division success is a direct result of the leadership they bring to the agency and their knowledge on how best to implement operations and investigations in order to meet those measures. With the promotions of these 3 majors, they collectively bring over 44 years of TABC knowledge, along with a vast amount of knowledge that they obtained from the previous agencies, to the agency and are some of the greatest resources we have in the field. So moving forward, I'm going to go ahead and read through each one of the bios first. And of course, I'll read Major Thompson's as well. Starting with Region 1, Major Paul Parent began his career with the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission in October 2005. He was stationed as an agent in the Houston office and later promoted to the position of sergeant in the Houston office in September 2012. He subsequently transferred to the sergeant position in the Richmond Outpost office in September 2014. In March 2017, he promoted to lieutenant and transferred to the El Paso area office. During his tenure with TABC, he has been a counselor and instructor at 5 new agent academies and was the original member of the Special Response Team and is a physical readiness coordinator. Paul graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Political Science cum laude from the University of Houston. He possesses a Master Peace Officer Certificate and Instructor Proficiency Certificate from the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. He served honorably for 4 years in the Marine Corps and 5 years in the Army National Guard, achieving the rank of sergeant in both services. Moving to Region 2, we have Major David Doggett, who began his law enforcement career in October 1995 with Tarrant County as a deputy constable. In March of 2001, he was hired as an agent with TABC, and his first duty station was Corpus Christi. During his career as an agent, he has been assigned to the Dallas District Office and the Denton Outpost Office. In July 2012, he was promoted to sergeant in the Denton Enforcement Area Office and later transferred to the Arlington Regional Office. In April 2017, he was promoted to lieutenant in the Arlington Regional Office. David holds a Master Peace Officer License, Instructor Proficiency Certificate, and an SFST, which is Standardized Field Sobriety Testing Instructor Certificate from the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. David graduated from Texas Christian University, TCU, in 1995 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice, and in 1999 with a Master's in Arts degree with emphasis in Criminal Justice. He is a recipient of the Trilogy Award from the FBI Law Enforcement Executive Development Association's Leadership Institute for successfully completing all 3 phases of the FBI leadership training. Major Carla Thompson began her career with the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission in October 2005 as an agent in Amarillo. Carla promoted to Arlington Regional to Sergeant in July 2012 and to Lieutenant in November 2013. In the Arlington Regional Office, Carla then promoted to Captain in the Houston Regional Office in March 2017. In her position as Captain, Carla has been the commander of the TABC's Special Response Team, which included deployments during Hurricane Harvey to Victoria and Houston, and deployment to Laredo to assist the ports of entry during the Paisano season. Carla's law enforcement career began in 1992 as a traffic safety analyst for the Amarillo Police Department. She was a deputy sheriff for the Oldham County Sheriff's Office from 1996 to 2005. Carla earned her Bachelor of Science degree from Wayland Baptist University and is a certified fraud examiner. She holds a Master Peace Officer Certificate and Instructor Proficiency Certificate from the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, and is a recipient of the Trilogy Award from the FBI LEDA Institute for successfully completing all 3 phases of FBI's LEDA leadership training. Carla and her spouse Amanda have a 5-year-old son, Caleb. They enjoy traveling, outdoor activities, and spending time with their family and friends. With these promotions, we expect great things, sir, and look forward to the leadership that they bring the Enforcement Division in a new position. So at this time, I'd like to bring Major Doggett and Major Parent up to be sworn in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We'll go ahead and swear you in first, and then we'll give you your credentials. So you'll face towards me, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Paul Doggett,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully execute the duties of Major
that I will faithfully execute the duties of Major
for the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission
for the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state.
the Constitution and laws of the United States and this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Well done, guys. All right, so it's my honor to present you with your Major's badge. There's an extra one.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Hold on a second, let's try this. Let's see if we can- I'm just gonna stick this here for a second. There we go. Great, sir, appreciate it. Congratulations. David. I'm gonna do it.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, family.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Families come up, let's get a group photo here, please. You have family present, sir? Come on. And Commissioner Steve, come on down.
We want to thank all of you all for the cost.
Hi, nice to see you.
Congratulations.
Okay,
Thank you.
great, great. we go. And one more. Thank you, sir. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, got a big old crowd here. How are you? What's your name? Cade. Nice to see you. What's your name, big man? Ethan. All right. No one else?
Congratulations. Thank you for, I know it's your support.
Nice to see you.
Come in, get this.
Hey, how are you? So are you guys in college? All right, folks, here we go. And one more, please. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So to our new majors, to he that is given or she that is given much, much is expected, right? And so you guys are the head of the spear. You're taking on a huge responsibility. It's a tremendous honor, and we expect great things. And also to the families, you know, they're the unsung heroes of public service, right? Whether it's what we do, the military, you know, it's always the folks at home that bear the brunt of the stress of how difficult these jobs are. And so I think it's absolutely essential that you all were here to support these new Texas heroes. So thank you for being here. And with that, it is now, we're going to be in recess for 15 minutes for a reception. So kids, there's some cake. This is all for you. And the time is currently 10:49. So we're in recess. All right, and I'm ready. Okay, if we get started here in about 1 minute, please. Oh, you know what? Who was the gal that I sat next to?
No. She's still Vincent now.
She's still doing it.
No, now she had a baby and she goes back to school.
Okay. Okay. She was talking about how she wasn't exactly excited.
No. Okay, we're on 3.
All right. Oh, sorry, I have to go back.
You're on 3.
You don't have to
I
go
gotta go
back.
back to me.
You don't have to go back. That's called.
I don't have to say we will now reconvene.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we will now reconvene. The time is 11:08, and we are going to move to the next agenda item, which we have briefing on TABC roundtables and executive summits. Mr. Staples.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Steen. Good to see you guys today. I'm going to give you a brief update on the 2 initiatives you just announced. First, we've got the roundtable tours. You've heard about these events at several of our commission meetings. We started these soon after Executive Director Nettles started on at TABC. And by the end of 2018, we have held 14 events across 11 cities, touching about every corner of Texas and many areas in between. And through these engagements, we've been able to interact with 237 members of industry from all tiers and face-to-face discussions, and as well as 103 representatives from the Texas legislature. And since we've last met in October, we held our final 3 roundtables, which have completed TABC's first initial tour of the state. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about how that went. We had events in Lubbock, in El Paso, and McAllen, and want to give a big thank you to our venue hosts, which were Texas Tech, the Sun Metro Center in El Paso, and the McAllen Chamber of Commerce. Because of our partnership with them, we're able to host about 85 attendees across these events, and those included legislators and industry from all 3 tiers at these events. And we had a productive discussion, including about ways to ensure a level playing field amongst industry, and how TABC can provide more education opportunities that are tailored specifically to each segment of each tier. And we're glad to say at the agency that we're well on our way to accomplishing a lot of those things. And so looking forward to 2019, we don't have any dates yet set for roundtables, but that's something we're going to jump on as soon as the session ends, and we'll give you an update when we have an idea of where we're going with that. The next item I want to bring up are our Executive Summit series. We've talked about this a couple of times at our commission meetings before, and these are meetings that we have with top executives from leading high-volume industry member companies. And we did the first the first summit back in September with the retail tier, and went really well. And most recently, on January 14th, just last week, we did the summit with representatives from the manufacturing tier. We did this in College Station at Texas A&M's very brand new hotel and conference center. We want to give a big thanks to the hotel for hosting us and helping us put on such a great event. And it was a great venue to have a productive conversation. And we also want to thank our co-hosts, the A&M AgriLife Extension Service, without whom this event wouldn't have been possible to put on. We had 36 guests from industry companies. It was a full house, and our guests heard from several different speakers. We had Dan Hunter from the Texas Department of Agriculture, Paul Bonarigo from Sinohoff, and we had several members of the A&M faculty who spoke about programs they're developing, which are intended to train up the workforce and next generation of the manufacturing industry in Texas. And it was pretty interesting what they're doing and seeing the nexus and how they can work with a lot of our current industry members. So there should be more to come from that in the coming months. Going forward, we will have our summit for the distributors at some point. We don't have a date yet, so that's set for that either, but that's also something we'll jump on when the legislative session ends later this year. That's it for the quick update on those two items. Going forward over the next few months, we'll continue proactive efforts with industry and work closely with them to address any issues as we go through the legislative session. That's all the prepared remarks I have, but glad to answer any questions.
Commissioner Steen, do you have any comments?
I'm curious, what do they name a course? What were the names of the courses?
That was actually a point of conversation. There was a debate of how you name that to attract folks, but still kind of keep it serious and short enough to get across. So that's something you're still working on.
Oh, okay.
I think I can pull up some stuff later and find out some of their specific considerations.
All right,
Yeah.
Well, I would like to commend Mr. Staples, Jared. That was an extraordinary, first of all, this whole program is innovative in so many different ways. I had an opportunity to speak to the governor on the night before the election, or the inauguration. He was absolutely beaming, literally. Like, normally in those events, you have to wait in line to talk to the governor. He actually sought me out, kind of did the come over here, and introduced me to the new speaker, and we all talked about the great job. And I think part of what's happened is that the elevation of exposure of this agency through General Nettles and Jared Staples' efforts have been profound. The event that, and Jared, I understand these are really hard to do, right? And you're always kind of on pins and needles. It's kind of like throwing a party. Who's going to show up? We're going to get a big no-show. Well, the deal at A&M was 100% attended. There wasn't an empty seat. We had, the people from the president of Deep Eddy Vodka to the head of Devil River. We had brewers, we had wine people, and the subject matter was extraordinary. To have these A&M professors talking about stuff that we had, and Aggies do everything great, right? They have the #1 corn professor in the world, and I'm thinking, okay, great. But to bourbon manufacturers, that guy's pretty important. And so, it was relevant, interesting, extremely well put on. And so, Jared, I really commend you. It's sometimes it's a thankless job, but you've done an extraordinary work doing this. And to the extent that we've had 14 of these with 237 attendees, including 103 members of the legislature, I think that's fantastic. And just for a job well done, I'd like to give everybody that worked on these.
Well, I have to say it's been all hands on deck to pull each one of these events off. So it's really just combined efforts of everyone to make sure these happen.
And that's
But
very
we
nice of
appreciate
you to
the
say,
comments.
because, but if it would have been screwed up, it'd be your fault. So,
Totally.
so take the credit when the mission is
I
accomplished,
appreciate it.
right? Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the next agenda item will be a briefing on the extremely interesting TABC TRACE program. Chief Kirkendall and Director Carroll.
Thank you, sir. Again, good morning. Director Victor Kirkendall with the Chief of Law Enforcement, TABC's Enforcement Division. I'm accompanied today by Minnie Carroll, TABC's Director over the Education and Prevention Division. And we're here to present information related to TABC's new TRACE program. So no one should have to experience the loss of a loved one due to DWI or other intoxicated-related crimes, especially when the intoxicated person was negligently overserved by a TABC licensed location. TRACE program was developed to address this issue and help save lives. So the name TRACE is actually an acronym which stands for Target Responsibility for Alcohol-Connected Emergencies. So what is TRACE? Simply stated, TRACE is an emergency notification process which provides centralized intake for notifications of alcohol-connected emergencies requiring immediate response by TABC investigators. Once notified, TABC trace investigators, who are actually agents specially trained and skilled in conducting source investigations, will begin the process of assisting in conducting investigations by collecting statements and evidence in order to trace the source from these incidents to determine the source was acting within the law when the beverages were provided to the parties in question. So why is trace investigations important? In 2017, 1,204 people were killed on Texas roadways in motor vehicle traffic crashes where the driver was under the influence of alcohol. This is 28% of the total number of people killed in all motor vehicle crashes for that year in this state. During 2017, more DUI crashes were reported in the hour between 2 a.m. and 2:59 a.m. than any other hour of the day. Also, more of these crashes occurred on Sunday, which to us would normally be Saturday night, according to those hours, than any other day of the week. This implies most of those killed were caused by persons being overserved at a TABC on-premise licensed location. In a 2008 study on law enforcement crash investigative programs used to identify sources of alcohol sales and consumption related to DUI crashes concluded that while source investigations can consume significant resources, they potentially change the behavior of both commercial and social providers by identifying and holding them accountable for selling alcohol to intoxicated patrons and minors. Historically, TABC investigators primarily relied upon police reports being forwarded from other law enforcement agencies or from news reports to learn of alcohol-related car crashes or other alcohol-connected events in their area. By implementing the TRACE program, first responders would have statewide access to make immediate notifications to TABC when investigating deaths or serious bodily injuries involving possible alcohol sales to an intoxicated person or minors existed. Some agencies have already have existing reports with their local agents, like the relationship developed through Harris County District Attorney's Office Vehicle Crimes Task Force, where the agents have historically received immediate notifications. However, this process is non-existent in most of the state. This immediate notification is key to TRACE's success. In 2017, TABC conducted nearly 400 source investigations, but only sustained 9% of those investigations, which means TABC found that the sale of alcohol to an already intoxicated person or a minor was proven to have occurred. As an example, on July 25th, 2 high school teenagers were killed in a car they were riding in and struck a tree in northeast Harris County.
Hey, Chief, can you back up again and say that statistic one more time, 9% versus the 400?
Correct. We conducted 400 source investigations in
Right.
2017. 9% we were able to sustain, which means we were able to prove that a sale to an intoxicated person or a minor did occur.
So is that 9% a good number or not?
I would say that it's not a good number.
Right, that's what it seems like.
That's correct.
Hopefully the TRACE program is going to help elevate that 9% to have a higher completion ratio of sustained cases, correct?
Absolutely. That is the goal.
Understood. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
No, sir. By all means. Back to the car crash in question, the 17-year-old driver of that vehicle was charged with 2 counts of intoxicated manslaughter. A joint investigation conducted by TABC, Harris County Sheriff's Office, and Harris County District Attorney's Office confirmed that the underage driver purchased alcohol involved in that criminal offense from a convenience store in Humboldt, Texas. In that investigation, TABC investigators were first notified of the fatal crash roughly around 3 o'clock in the morning. They immediately responded and were on scene just over an hour from being notified. By that afternoon, the investigators had leads confirming the location where the teen was sold alcohol beverages and the name of the clerk who actually sold those beverages. This example, while tragic, illustrates the following. 1, immediate notification in response by TABC investigators greatly increases the likelihood that evidence and information being captured to help ensure a successful investigation. To help facilitate this, a toll-free first responders hotline was created to allow immediate notification to TABC from anywhere in the state. Two, source investigations are often resource intensive. By sharing the load of these investigations between TABC and other agencies, helps lessen the burden by all the agencies involved. Three, more structured and detailed training formalizes the practices of conducting trace investigations and amplifies the importance of these investigations to both TABC agents and other law enforcement agencies. TABC's training division, under the direction of Director Albert Rodriguez and Lieutenant Alex Nieto, did an outstanding job and brought together some of TABC's best investigators from across the state to form a committee to develop a formal 8-hour training course for all of the TABC agents and the future agents. Training is also being developed to condensed curriculum to use for training other law enforcement agencies across the state in the future. Fourth, through our efforts to partnership with other agencies and associations like DPS, Texas Park and Wildlife, Texas Sheriff Association, Texas Police Chiefs Association, these co-sponsors collectively help to promote the program and provide education to others and policymakers about the essential nature of trace investigations. Our hopes are to eventually have a community prevention aspect added to the TRACE program through future partnerships with such non-governmental organizations such as MAD, Texas Standing Tall, and AAA Foundation. Finally, by using the media to demonstrate in high-profile cases the leverage and experience or expertise that TABC can bring to bear, holding licensed businesses and individuals accountable will help deter violations by others in the future. Therefore, the Enforcement Division works closely with our Public Information Officer, Chris Porter, in facilitating these press releases and press conferences relating to those investigations. So, where are we at with the program today? The First Responder Hotline went active December the 1st of 2018, just a little over a month and a half ago, which is operated by Texas Parks and Wildlife Department's communications staff. They who physically man the hotline 24/7 and notifies the trace investigators when a call is received. A press conference with our co-sponsors took place at TABC headquarters on December the 4th, announcing the launch of the TRACE program. TABC's Training Division TRACE Committee has completed the development of the training program, and the materials for the training are being prepared for production by TABC's Education Prevention Division, staffed through funding provided by TxDOT. Materials should come back from production in late January or February. Educational videos funded by TxDOT will be produced and should be available by midsummer. Director Mindy Kira will speak to the education materials and information put together by her and her team.
So, good morning. Education and Prevention has been asked to help promote the program through educational efforts. And what we're going to start with is the creation of a 4-part video series, which will include an introduction that will allow TABC to highlight our commitment to the program and how we envision the program working. It will also include a somewhat short learning training video for law enforcement, specifically geared towards them, which the committee is going to assist us with. It will also include an overview video, which we will use for non-government organizations and other nonprofits and community members so they understand why TRACE is being implemented and how it can assist their community so that we can also get their support. And we're also looking at doing a retailer video that's extremely short, but basically highlights the positive ways that retailers are members of their communities, which basically excludes them from ever being part of TRACE investigations by doing responsible sales and services of alcohol. To do that, we had pretty much 3 different audience types. The first one was law enforcement. We created various items geared specifically towards law enforcement that highlight the number, why they should contact them, and ways that are easy for them to keep in their vehicles or on their person so they can remember that number. And we'll highlight back to that video for those that learn better from visuals. The second group is retailers. What we're going to do with the retailers is use a report that was compiled for us by Texas A&M Transportation Institute, which looks at how retailers respond to the materials that we've already made. One of their requests was to do it in a positive manner to highlight what's being done right and good, instead of looking at what is the wrong thing for them to do. So we'll be making materials in that realm and updating some of the materials we already have in place. And we're also going to work with communities, basically looking at how do we prevent minors from getting alcohol. That will have two streams by which it will go down. One will be looking at just getting the parent to talk to the kid about alcohol, even if they're subject to it, not to consume it. How would they get home in a scenario where possibly the person they came with was drinking? And the other that we're going to be looking at is trying to determine the best way to do some of the education along social hosting. Although some of the instances for DWIs do involve license locations, that's not all of them. And so it's just as important for communities to work together to figure out how to prevent the social host that takes place in someone's home or someone's private property. To do that, we're looking at doing trace community expos in at least 3 cities that we'll try to do with Victor. And that will bring people from the community that work on DWI and alcohol prevention in one location to highlight what they do, what communities or resources are available for people interested in reducing underage drinking or overconsumption of alcohol. And then we'll promote the concept of pre-planning, which is a positive way of saying before you go out, how are you planning to get home if you're old enough to consume alcohol?
At this point, we're welcome to answer any questions you may have.
Well, I always think that the chairman brings this up, but my experience way back when, mine are all in their 30s, but the ones that needed to come to us information ones didn't come. The ones that were hosting the alcohol parties. So there's your challenge. I mean,
Yes.
especially in the schools.
And that's where we're trying to partner with organizations that have different avenues to reach those parents, that it's not TABC coming to talk about alcohol. They're coming to an event that they would attend, say something like some sort of UIL sponsored event or something, and figuring out a way for them to at least share a little bit of information about why don't provide alcohol for these reasons that align with those organizations. And we're trying to figure out ways to do that instead of the older method of we're going to host an event and we're going to ask you not to serve alcohol and we're going to tell you why. Because what you're saying is true. Even when I taught years ago, the parents that show up are the ones that they weren't going to provide alcohol in the first place.
And one more question. How will you be able to access the videos through the new website? How are you getting those videos out?
The videos we put on YouTube and then we run them on the tooyoungtodrink.com website.
And will they be linked through the TABC somehow?
We can link them on our website as well. We also provide them to anyone that asks for them free of charge. So we have a lot of organizations that get flash drives of all of our videos and they run them in various programs. So
I just would think people would go to the TABC website to look for links first, and I wouldn't go to YouTube. It's just me.
okay, we'll look at how to redo our webpage on the education page.
Oh, gosh. Oh, this is really important. I have 2 questions and a comment. Question 1, Chief. So, accident occurs, 610 Houston. Officer on the scene, HPD, Harris County Constable. They suspect alcohol's involved. Are they going to call the trace hotline there from the scene of the accident? How does that get to us?
The way I envision this and the way most of it would occur is that the information, the hotline number, would actually be housed in the communications department for that agency. So all they have to do is radio say, I need a treat, TABC investigator to contact me, reference this incident. And they would use that 800 number and call the hotline, which would go through Texas Parks and Wildlife and through a phone tree and notify which department, which supervisory staff or whatever county they're in.
So so how do you combat, how do you create a sense of, rather, cooperation such that, a lot of times, hey, this is my jurisdiction, this is my case. Why do we want another agency involved? How do you kind of get and educate the average HPD beat cop that this is the right procedure if he suspects or she suspects a DWI?
Well, that's what we're talking about, the future curriculum that training is working on, so we can go out and talk to those law enforcement agencies. But on the front end, we've already developed sponsorships with the police chief and sheriff's associations across, and they represent every police department, every sheriff's department in the state of Texas. And of course, our state partners, Parks and Wildlife and DPS, So to get them on board and to explain to them on the high level what we're trying to accomplish, they're able to push that information down to their associate members or their staff and to help promote it. But most of it's going to be perceivably done through training. You know, already they're required to go through a TABC curriculum as part of their TCO requirements. We're going to implement part of this into that training.
Thank you. Director Carroll, so is there any way that we could require that PTC organizations show this video once a year? These are public schools receiving public dollars. And we say, is there a way to mandate that this has to be shown?
The only way I
Legally,
can,
can we do that, council?
We can discuss maybe after I've looked at it some more, but I don't know that we would
your problem
necessarily
is
have jurisdiction to do that.
right, none of the money that you're talking about comes from us, so the only way you could possibly do it is if the Texas Education Agency agreed under some circumstance that they would put it in some kind of bylaw that they have associated with some required course or some required information session that they have through their parent liaisons.
Yeah, because I think Commissioner Z's point is that right now it's a push program and we need a pull program. Because right now, if you want to look into that, you're going to look into it. But if you're one of the problem parents, that's the source, they're not going to look at a TABC video on education because they're the ones feeding booze to all the kids in the neighborhood. And I just wonder if they're, the other thing about it is they may not really know that they're breaking the law. I mean, I don't think these are nefarious people that are, gosh, we're going to serve booze to underage kids and hope they get in an accident. I just think it kind of happens. At least in my neighborhood, it's just, you know.
Right, and I think that's probably where the biggest,
Well, right, they don't know the repercussions.
and I think that's where our public information officer using those high profile incidents to turn around and illustrate where the consequences of hosting those parties can actually happen is probably the biggest impact. Because unless you're directly or indirectly affected by this, you have that perception that it doesn't apply to me.
Yeah. And I know you and I have talked about this, that one of, hopefully, initiative that you and I can talk about in 2019 is this notion of educating parents as to the dangers and their own personal liability that they're taking on by promoting drinking at their homes when they think it's give me the keys to your car and everything's fine. Fortunately, generally, you got a few years before you have to worry about that. Let me tell you, it's an issue. So, my comment is, you know, collaboration has been the hallmark, I think, of this organization, and one of the reasons why we have been elevated so much, and if I may call it a brand, the brand of TABC has been enhanced, is because of this collaboration, whether it's through the outreach programs, but also I think this is such a great example because it's not only collaboration between our agency and other law enforcement agencies, right? It's also a collaboration within the agency, such that Director Rodriguez, Director Carroll, Chief Kirkendall, all your respective staffs are working together to create this. And by the way, I live in Harris County. You know, we just had a horrific accident in which a young man, underage, has been served 15 drinks.
Correct. That was
Tequila
actually
shots.
the first trace
Exactly.
investigation that we conducted after implementing the program.
And we immediately went in within, 24, 48 hours and arrested 5 people at the bar. They didn't have a liquor license. They were serving tequila illegally. And this guy killed a woman who was with her 1-year-old child within 1 minute of leaving the bar. 1 minute. Pulled out of the driveway, killed this woman. So the TRACE program worked in that case, and it was almost immediate. So it's proof that it works. So well done. Okay. Yes,
Maybe we need to go after the automobiles.
in every car.
Thank you.
all very
Great
much.
report.
Thanks. Great report. Next agenda item will be an update on the Be the One human trafficking video. Chris Porter.
Morning, Commissioners. How are you? I have the easy job this morning. I have one slide to tell you about the Be the One human trafficking video. Chairman, as you remember, last summer, we filmed the video with First Lady Cecilia Abbott just letting the public know about what human trafficking is and how they can fight it and what TABC is doing to prevent it at licensed bars and businesses here in the state. We released that video in October with a press conference that we had some good coverage of. And then since then, we've had about 810 views of the full 5-minute version of the video on YouTube, and a further about 120 views of the 1-minute version as well. So that's been a pretty good turnout for the last 3.5 months, and about half of those views have come from external sites. So someone sees the link either on Twitter, on Facebook, or on a news organization's website, and then that's how they get to the video to view it from there. One of the places that we have been promoting the video most heavily is on social media. And last week, seeing as January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, we had a week-long campaign just letting people know what some of the warning signs of trafficking are and how they can fight it and how TABC fights it. And we linked to the video every day that week. And during that campaign, we reached a total of about 33,000 people here in Texas and, of course, around the world who follow us on social media. So that's been a good turnout. We are continuing to work with the Governor's Office of Child Sex Trafficking to find ways that we can cross-promote the video together. And that's a work in progress. And I hope that we'll continue to see further progress throughout 2019 and even better, lower the rates of human trafficking here in Texas. Any questions?
Very important.
Thank you.
No further questions. Well done, though.
Thank you, sir.
The next agenda item is an action item, order adjusting production rates. Yes. No, we're on 4 now. No, legislative district.
Correct.
Okay, insert replay. Let's back that up. It just happened. Excuse me. I promise it won't be like this next meeting. Not really. All right, so the next agenda item will be a briefing on legislative district office visits. Ms. Morlock.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Good to see y'all this morning. I wanted to tell you about this effort that we started in November for the regional management teams to go visit the legislative district offices. So each House and Senate member has their capital office, but then they also have one in the district. In the case of some senators, they have 2, 3, even 4 district offices. So our intent was to get out and visit those folks in the district. These are the people that don't deal with appropriations bills or policy matters so much. They deal with constituents and social services needs and inquiries and rights of way problems and maybe an application for a liquor license. So it's those folks that are running the office that are speaking and working on behalf of that legislator. We wanted to go out and make sure that they knew there was a TABC individual in their community working for them to get people in business, help them be compliant, and keep the public safe. So we assigned the regional management team. So the supervisor for licensing, the supervisor for audit, and then the major, or at the time lieutenant, for enforcement side. And not all 3 would go to each district office, but we divvied up based on either inquiries that I have received. They have asked many questions about public entertainment facilities and big festivals, then we'd send audit. If they always call about an application, we'd send licensing. If they had other issues, we'd send enforcement. So just sort of would depend. And this initiative started in, how do I make it? And it, oh, there we go. Sorry, just wasn't forceful enough. So we started the initiative in early November. They got after it. So we did about 100 before the end of the year. That's a lot. We have 150 House members and 31 senators. Some don't have district offices that are based in Austin. So that's a huge effort that we've made in those 2 months. And we did 7 more last week. So we'll continue this effort in January and February. One good thing that happened, or not one good thing, many good things happened as a result of this. Because it was in the interim leading right up to session, a lot of the legislators participated in the meeting. So we have, I believe it was 31 legislators that participated in these meetings, which is great. And I think both of y'all have seen that we refer to it as the district sheet. So on the front of it, it has how many manufacturers, how many wholesalers are in the state and in that particular district, how many breaches, how many, what the results of the minor stings have been in the past year. That's all on the front, and on the back, we have our legislative appropriations request, how to get in touch with us, some of the latest initiatives. So it was a good handout to give to educate that district liaison. It was also sort of a starting point for the regional team to have discussions. A lot of people asked about, wait, I have this many in my district, I had no idea. Others didn't know that we had an SRT team. They didn't know that we sent so many agents to Hurricane Harvey. They didn't know we had that many peace officers. It ran the gamut of topics, but the feedback was incredibly positive. Incredibly positive. This is not the only time we're going to do this. We'll wrap up January and February, and then after session concludes in the summer, we'll go visit the district offices of the freshman members. They don't have anything set up yet. They just got sworn in 2 weeks ago. So, but then we'll start this effort again, and it'll be an annual project. And we've encouraged them to go in and visit, drop by sometimes, and just touch base. So it's been a good outreach effort by the agency. And I think I already spoke about this. And we asked folks to take pictures as they were comfortable, and we posted some on social media. But again, great effort. It's not over. We're going to continue to build the reputation of the agency. Collaboration, as you mentioned just a minute ago, is important. That way they know that they have somebody in their backyard practically that is there for them. They know they can call me. They know that their boss is going to meet with the executive director at some point. But we wanted to reach out with those folks in the district working for their constituents. Have any questions?
No further questions. Thank you. Excellent job. All right, now, I'll attempt to go off script. No, I'm going to go on script, but I was off script. So the next agenda item is an action item, order adjusting production limits. Mr. Smith.
Morning, Commissioners. This morning I'm going to propose adoption of an order that elevates the production limits for both ale brewers and beer manufacturers. In the 85th legislature 2 years ago, the legislature passed a bill 3287, which clarified the production limits at which either a brewery or a manufacturer could sell beer on premise in a tap room. To get above that threshold, then you're unable to sell the beer. The legislature in House Bill 3287 instructed us to increase that threshold annually based on population growth from July 1st to July 1st year over year. This is the first time that we will have done that. We worked with the state demographer who based its calculation on the U.S. Census Bureau. The determination was that the state of Texas population grew by 1.3%. So applying that 1.3% population growth to the current 175,000 barrel production limit increases that threshold by 2,275 barrels. And I recommend adoption of the order. And I'm happy to field any questions.
I have explained it very well.
So we have a motion to approve.
Go back to the electronics. It says something's going on.
Am I waiting on something to pop up?
They just make motion.
Okay, I make a motion that pass as submitted.
I second.
Let's see that.
It's coming. Okay. Okay, great. Are you on agenda 121?
Yes. Okay. We have voted aye. Motion carries. At this time, we will move to executive session. The commission will now go into executive session under Government Code 551.071. Time is 11:47.
Five point two.
The Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission has concluded its executive session is now in regular open session. The date is Tuesday, January 22nd, 2019. My mother's birthday, 96. Sorry, Mom, I had to throw that one in. It is currently 12:08. All right. Next is potential action on items discussed in executive session. No action will be taken. Next is public statements. I do not believe we have any public statements. There are none. Okay.
You're gonna have to.
This is
go
the
to
worst
break.
mouse. Sorry.
Go to the
This is the
break.
worst mouse I've ever used. I promise it's the mouse's fault. Never pilot error. It's never pilot error, right?
You need to go to that little gray one.
Is that what I need? Yeah. All right. Finally. Next is the announcement of the next meeting and date. The next regularly scheduled commission meeting is Tuesday, March 26, 2019. Commissioner Steen, do you have a problem with that date, ma'am? Neither do I. So the commission is scheduled to meet on Tuesday, March 26th, 2019. Next is adjournment. The time is now 12:09. We are 9 minutes past. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.